My name is Eleanor Dunn and I'm a photorealism artist working in graphite pencil. I make work based on human experience, connection, sexuality and gender, and I live and work in Leeds in England. I was born in Berkshire and moved to Leeds to study fine art in 2018, and I've stayed there since. Living in Leeds and being part of a large studio community has hugely influenced my practice and my life. It's a city with a lot going on, and it's all creatives from different disciplines working to make opportunities and events and activities for each other and for others in the community, and I'm so happy that I get to be a part of it. Growing up in Berkshire, I was very lucky and I had a good childhood. My parents always gave me the freedom to do what I wanted, and they were supportive when I chose to pursue art into higher education. I think that support can be hard to come by in parents for some people, so I'm really grateful to have had that. Drawing was automatic for me from a really young age. There was something in my eyes that picked out something that would be good to draw, and once that happened, that was it. I was off to my room to be left alone until it was done. It was a huge form of solace. I always wanted to be doing it. It helped with my observation of the world and things in it, but it also meant I could isolate myself when I wanted to. So I got to kind of investigate the world and hide from it at the same time, which I think helped to manage and compartmentalise that feeling of being overwhelmed you can get when you're young and you start to realise that you're a very small part of a very big world. Nan Goldin has been a huge influence on my work for a really long time. When I was 16 or 17, I went to the Irish Museum of Modern Art and saw her Weekend Plans exhibition. Her commitment to honesty and the reality of a situation was incredible to me, and I loved it. I think for an artist whose practice is based on recreating a photograph accurately and absolutely, her work was something I could trust, and the energy she manages to capture is what I will always be striving for. And another of my main influences is Betty Tompkins. A lot of my work surrounds subjects of sex and gender and sexuality, so when a friend introduced me to her, it was an important moment. I really loved her images, and she's a pencil artist as well, and the graphic and unapologetic subject matters, and seeing the grid exposed in her drawings, I didn't know was something that was okay to be done, and that was a big light bulb moment. It was like a trusted adult saying, you're allowed to break this rule if you like. And that was a really exciting thing, especially for someone who sticks to the rules a lot. Right now, I'm focusing on incorporating movement and blur into my work more. I've played around with it a few times, and each time I've loved the results. It creates a sense of agency that I just don't get with a still portrait or drawing. And I think I felt quite stuck in that staticness. So I'm exploring blur and movement as my way out of that. I think the biggest challenge of being an artist for me is rejection. It happens a lot. In fact, it happens most of the time. It's hard when the art you make it's like a bit of you, and you know it's like someone reading your diary. And when you spend months making it and putting an application in for a residency or a course or an open call, and you get back an email saying no, it can really crush you. And not only do you have to just get on with it, but you have to do it again and again and again. And that's hard. Looking back at my experience in an all-girls school, I wish I could have been more aware of the power we all had as women at a young age. It was a good, state comprehensive, made up of strong young girls, and I wish I had paid more attention to that. It was a shame because obviously my attention went towards comparing myself to other girls, wishing I was like them, wondering why there was so much wrong with me and why I was so weird. And that's what you do when you're a teenager. You know, you're introspective and self-critical, and you just want to get growing up over and done with because it can be painful. And I wish I could tell myself to look around at other girls in my school, know that we're all going through the different assortments of crap, but we were united in all being strong young women, lucky to be getting an incredible education that can help us have the freedom to do what we want. And I think I could have felt more connected to people my age if I'd have known that. So I would tell my younger self to be aware of that, because I think it was a powerful thing that didn't have the galvanization behind it from staff that it could have done. So I would have made myself more aware of that. I consider my work to be quite unconventional in a couple of ways. The grid method is commonly used by artists, but I like to expose the grid and shift it around and manipulate it so that it's evident in the end piece. A lot of the time, the format of the grid reflects the meaning behind the piece as well in my work. I also like that the subjects of my pieces are uncommon, specifically for photorealism as a genre. A lot of photorealism is driven towards renditions of celebrities or drawings of eyes. And I find that quite boring, and I like that I draw things on a level of detail that other people don't. Most of the time, I listen to albums whilst I work. I think hearing an intro to an album that I love is like a catalyst in my brain saying, okay, settle down now. It's music, but it's also a unit of time that I can work for before I get a cup of tea or lunch or something. The best reaction someone has had to my work was a friend that told me that one of my pieces really connected to her and her experience of being a woman, and that was huge for me. I draw because I like to do it, and sometimes I think that art can feel a little bit like a byproduct of that. So when someone says that my work really made them feel something, that's not necessarily something I imagine my work is capable of. So it's the biggest compliment I can get, really. I hope when people look at my work, it invites them to look closer at things and take a little time poring over something. To be honest, if people like my work and enjoy looking at it, that is more than enough for me. And I love that people have individual and personal experiences from looking at the same piece, and that's really cool to me. I think when you put work on a wall, it suddenly becomes its own thing. You know, you can raise a child, but in the end, it's its own person. So exhibition is a moment for me where you relinquish control, and it's up to the work to do the talking, and people can think what they want about it. And that's terrifying, but it's brilliant.